Ladies and gentlemen, the Chiefs have signed an unexpected backup quarterback. We're going to get to know Jake Haener a little bit. Let's go. Chiefs Kingdom, ACU crew, welcome back. This is a little impromptu live here. It's just me today. Steve's at work. I wanted to jump on, talk a little bit about Jake Haener. But before we get going, let's give a shout out to our sponsor of today's video, DraftKings.
The next great touchdown is coming, and you can bet on it. All Chiefed Up has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. New customers can even turn $5 into $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. So sign up using our promo code ACU, and again, new customers who bet $5 can turn that into $300 if your bet wins, paid out in bonus bets. With DraftKings, the crown is yours.
DraftKings, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate them sponsoring today's live stream, sponsoring the channel. Appreciate that. Everybody, thanks for coming in. The Chiefs have signed a backup quarterback to a futures deal. What's up, everybody coming into the chat? Appreciate you guys being here. If you're on Facebook, if you're on X, if you're on YouTube, wherever you're at, appreciate you guys being here today. It's just me. We're going to talk a little about Jake Haener. The Chiefs have signed Jake Haener to a future deal. Mike Garafolo reported that earlier today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Jake Haener, and let's talk about how he's going to fit into the Kansas City Chiefs. So here's the thing. Jake Haener, he was drafted. He's been in the league for just a little bit. He came in 2023. He had some regular season games. He didn't play that year, but he made his debut in 2024. Here's the thing. We put him on a futures contract, so he's not guaranteed a roster spot by any means. The Chiefs could still maybe make a play on Gardner Minshew. They could go out and sign a different one. I'm sure they'll maybe keep around Oladokin if he's under contract. If he's not, they may look to re-sign him or something. There's going to be a healthy QB competition there for QB2. But the thing about Jake Haener, and you guys will know him a lot from all those those ridiculous pictures he took online, where he's doing this and all this kind of stuff. He's a goofy dude, but I'll tell you, he does have some decent football knowledge, I think is what I'll go with that one. I think we'll call it football knowledge. But yeah, let's talk about Jake Haener just a little bit, and then I'll get to the chat if you guys are asking questions or whatever. But he appeared in 8 games in 2024. So he got to play his first. He was obviously drafted in the 4th round by the New Orleans Saints. So he didn't play in 2023. In 2024, He played in 8 games. He had 1 career start. He made that in week 15, I think, versus the Commanders. It wasn't the greatest game ever. I think he was 46% passing, 200 and some yards, a touchdown. He had a pick. But the thing is he got some decent coaching there, and he just we'll talk about this in a minute too. He's not got the intangibles that make him a starting QB in this league. He just doesn't, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's a backup. He coached. He got coached by Dennis Allen, and it was like Kellen Moore actually come in and helped coach him a little bit there as well in New Orleans. He took over the offensive coordinator job back in 2024, going into 2025. So in that offense and with Dennis Allen, he had to be a quick processor. It relied on processing things before the line of scrimmage, making quick reads, and timing routes. Under Kellen Moore, that scheme emphasized a lot of versatile passing concepts, pre-snap adjustments. Haener always looked decent in practice. They always thought they had something there, but it just could not translate to in-game production. He eventually got benched for Spencer Rattler. If you'll remember him, Spencer Rattler played at South Carolina, played at Oklahoma. And then, of course, Tyler Shuck, they drafted him, and he eventually got some starts. But Haener come out of Fresno State. It's where he was drafted from, was Fresno State. But in 2017, I think he played at Washington University. And when he was there, he was coached by Chris Peterson and Bush Hamden. Those two ran a very pro-style system, focusing on discipline and high-level execution. And we're going to talk about how that's going to bleed into what he could possibly do for the Chiefs and how this will get into Andy Reid's offense in a minute. But he eventually went to Fresno. Jeff Tedford and Kirby Moore there. You'll know Kirby Moore. Kirby Moore is Kellen Moore's sibling. So they ran a West Coast timing. They took aggressive vertical shots there. Jalen Cropper, he got drafted last year before sometime. I don't really remember which draft Jalen Cropper come out in, but he played at Fresno with Jake Haener. But they're known. Tedford has been known for developing NFL caliber QBs. And with Tedford, he was named first team All Mountain West in 2022. He was second team All Mountain West in 2021. He held the school record. He still does at Fresno State for a 68% completion percentage for the year, or for a season, I believe, or overall. It's one of the two. I don't remember which one that is, but he does hold that there at Fresno. And there's been some decent quarterbacks come through Fresno, I will say. But anyways, in his college career, he played in 33 games. He had about 9,000 passing yards, 68 TDs, 18 touchdowns, 156 passer rating total. The thing about it is when he would come out, people compared him to Brian Hoyer. If you remember him, he was pretty much a career backup, just a savvy game manager. That was a very good comparison. I remember some scouts said he reminded him a lot of Drew Brees because he was undersized. He could create things. We seen that he was not, in fact, a Drew Brees. But he does have superb processing skills, in my opinion. I think he can quickly read through his reads, get through the cycles and everything, and it anticipates open windows really well. I think that's what Haener does. I think if I could pull out another pro for him, I think it would be toughness. I think he was pretty tough. I believe there was a game back, I want to say when he played at Fresno, he had a game where he fought through a hip injury. I want to say it was against UCLA. He fought through a hip injury, got through that, and got a win. So he can play through some injury. He's a tough kid. Pre-snap, I think he's pretty good at identifying defenses, calling audibles, things like that. You don't do that a lot with Andy Reid. He doesn't really require you to call audibles, change the play a lot at the line. So I don't know if that will be something, but just the way he reads through quickly with cycles through his reads and things like that, I think will be an asset to an Andy Reid or offense. I don't know why I was going to say defense. Some cons. I think he's a little undersized. We've seen that. He's not been able to do much at an NFL level. And I think that's why he's kind of just coming here to get a fresh start. See if Andy Reid, the QB whisperer, can get something going for him. I think that is a big thing for him. He wants to come here and get a fresh start. He actually posted on IG. I had that to bring up for you guys. It was crazy. But my system over here froze. StreamYard, where we stream from, froze out, and it will not let me bring up any pictures, any media. So, yeah, so much for doing that. It's always something around here. I'll tell you that right now. But, yeah, I think he's got limited arm strength. That's another con I kind of seen by watching his film. I liked him coming out of Fresno. I thought he was a gunslinger type. I thought he could work in Andy Reid offense. I actually said that. There was even a few mock drafts where I was taking Haener maybe in like round 6 or round 7 because I've always been under the assumption that maybe the Chiefs and Andy Reid shouldn't shy away from maybe drafting and developing late talent at quarterback. The worst you could do would be to develop the player and potentially get more draft picks for down the road. But Andy, I think, always wants to have that veteran in the back pocket rather than just like a younger guy that he can develop. I think that they just want to take their picks and put it on what they have to have because they have to do that with all the big contracts we have. And they're just not in the process of right now. They don't want to develop. They just want to bring in somebody that's stable if Mahomes can't play. So I think that's why they did it. But I was always under the assumption I thought it would be fun. And I remember mock drafting Haener to the Chiefs a few times in like round 5, round 6. Come to find out, he didn't even last that long. He actually went round 4 to the Saints. And I thought when they picked him, I thought it was a pretty good pick by the Saints. Didn't really pan out. I think a lot of it with NFL and college players, specifically quarterbacks in general, you have to go to the right system. You have to go to the right team. you have to go to the right just situation in general, or you're going to fail. And I think Jake Haener was a product of just kind of going to the wrong team, wrong time. And so, but getting back to his lack of arm strength, because that was a con for me. I don't think he has a lot of zip on like deep balls or out routes or things like that. Like I think his arm strength lacks a little bit there, and he loses velocity when he has to leave his spot. So one of his big things is he does create well. He can get out on the edge. He can make things happen. He's good with arm angles, but he doesn't throw the ball with authority. He does lose a lot of zip if he's not taking that initial drop, sitting in the pocket, planting his feet, getting his hips around, getting his arm in a nice spot. He will lose some zip on the ball. And in the NFL, you got to have all that if you're going to do certain things that even Andy Reid require you to do, because you got to throw in tight windows in the NFL. Like open is literally 6 inches in the NFL. You got to make the most of it. And then I think like physical ceiling is what I'll say. That could be a con too. I don't think he's good at getting outside the pocket, making things happen, but I don't think it's elite mobility. And then, of course, the physical tools that you need to be a modern starter in the NFL. I just think Jake Haener lacks those. And I think that going to this point in his career, he's seen that he is not going to be that franchise quarterback. He's not going to be that. So if he wants to stay in this league, he does have to get some tutelage. He's got to get in the right system. He's got to get with somebody like an Andy Reid, play under Patrick Mahomes, learn everything he can, and become a backup in this league for many years. I think that's how he's going to extend his career. He can extend it for 10, 15 years by being a backup and being a serviceable backup that you can rely on to not turn the ball over, execute the offense, in just 1, 2, 3, 4 week stretches. You have to be able to do that. So I think the Chiefs are going to give him a shot here. I think he's got a lot of things that could do it. I'll get back before we take a few comments from everybody. I wanted to talk more about his coaching at Fresno, because I believe at Fresno State, I think that developed him to who he was a lot more than what he was at Washington. He's only at Washington for 1 year, obviously. You could say that. But Fresno State was coached by Jeff Tedford. Sorry, I'll get out in a minute. Jeff Tedford and Kirby Moore, who, again, Moore became an offensive coordinator, I believe, and he was also Tedford's wide receiver coach, and he became an offensive coordinator. But the way they ran their offense, they actually referred to Fresno at one time and different things, and the way Tedford coaches as quarterback U. There was certain times they would say that. He coached, and I want to get this right, but I think all the way back in the mid-'90s, Tedford actually coached Trent Dilfer, who was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He coached David Carr. He did coach Jake Haener in the early 2000s. Or not early 2000s, I'm sorry, 2020-ish. Right now, that feels like the early 2000s to me. He actually coached Billy Volek, who really didn't turn out to be much. Jalen Cropper, though, wide receiver. That was all some of the guys that he had coached right there at Fresno. But if you go all the way back and you look at what Tedford has done, he used to coach at Oregon. He used to coach at Cal. So this dude has coached some really good. He's coached in the CFL. He was a offensive coordinator in 2014. He coached Josh McCown and Mike Evans at Tampa Bay. He coached in the CFL. I think he was a head coach of the BC Lions, and then he was some kind of an assistant for the Calgary, Stampede or something like that. He's done a lot of things. But when he was at Oregon, he actually coached Akili Smith, who was the 3rd overall pick in the draft, turned out to be a bust. Joey Harrington, 3rd overall pick, turned out to be a bust. But he coached A.J. Freely. At Cal, he coached Aaron Rodgers. We know what Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl MVP, 4-time NFL MVP. Kyle Bowler, who was a first-round pick. He recruited, and I don't know if he got to coach Jared Goff, but he recruited Jared Goff. So he recruited Jared Goff. And then, not to mention at Cal, he coached Marshawn Lynch. He coached Deshaun Jackson, who was an Andy Reid guy. He coached Keenan Allen, Shane Vereen, Justin Forsett, C.J. Anderson, Javid Best. Some of those running backs were really good. And then, of course, Kirby Moore, who's the younger brother of Kellen Moore. He's went to now Power 5 schools. He was named the head coach at Washington State for this particular year. He was a QB coach, offensive coordinator. I think he was offensive coordinator at Missouri, right? From 2023 to 2025. He got their offense back going. And so he's coached Brady Cook, Cotton Bowl MVP right there. So he coached Luther Burden, Cody Schrader. He's coached guys. He coached back as a graduate assistant back at Washington. That was with Tedford. He had John Ross. John Ross was a speedster. He coached Dante Pettis. He coached at Idaho a little bit. So he's had good coaching. Haener's had good coaching. He's familiar with what Andy's going to ask him to do. And I think it's pretty good. How does he fit with the Chiefs in the Chiefs system? In my opinion, you've got to look at Haener in one way. He is a brains over brawn kind of guy, right? That's kind of what Andy likes, even though I will say Patrick Mahomes got a lot of brawn. He can get out on the edge and he can truck you. He can do things he's got to do physically. But Andy Reid can make quarterbacks that don't really have all those physical, beautiful traits and turn them into winners, such as Alex Smith. I don't think Alex Smith had those great physical traits, but with Andy Reid, you can see that his processing ability, and as smart as Alex Smith was, made him very good. So I think how he's going to compete for a QB2 job or to just get on this roster, I think it's going to start with mental processing. We all know Reid's system is notoriously complex. Nobody can get on the field, apparently, unless you're a defensive coordinator from another team. But he requires QBs who can handle massive amounts of pre-snap info. You're going to need to do adjustments, things like that. And I think he was drafted by the Saints specifically for that play processing ability and the way he carried himself on the field. So I think that can go into an Andy Reid system pretty well. Timing and rhythm. We know that the Chiefs' offense relies on a very high success rate, quick passing game. We'll see times where Andy's particularly tried to throw the ball down the field and force it down the field over the past few years. At least he's told us that. It works at times, but we've seen Mahomes, the timing and rhythm's off. He gets it out a little too far lately. He's throwing towards the sideline. He'll miss it a little off. Like, there's been some timing and rhythm, and just the deep ball threat's not really been there. But it seems like Andy still wants to continue with that. This is what Jake Haener could provide. I think he can do the quick passing game pretty well. His primary strength in college, again, was the ability to operate with the timing. So it's the intermediate accuracy and just having a little bit of arm talent within, say, the 10 to 12 yards. Once it gets over 15, 20 yards, I question his arm talent a little bit. And then, of course, adaptability. Andy Reid's wanting to refresh the offense, to retool the offense. He said this. He thinks that the offense has become a little stagnant. He's admitted this. Cool. Haener's got some experience with multiple coordinators. Peterson, Tedford. In the NFL, he's worked with Clint Kubiak. He's worked with Kellen Moore. I think this makes him a flexible quarterback piece that could provide some maybe fresh perspective on certain plays, certain things, certain system, like just certain things within the system. He's not going to change the system. You're not going to bring in Jake Haener and be like, hey, change the system. I'm just saying the way he would review certain plays or certain things, he could be like, well, look, in the Clint Kubiak days, we would do this over this, or we would do this. And maybe Andy's like, hey, that's a cool idea. So I think he does offer you that. And that's kind of cool because we've seen that Kubiak's now probably going to be with the Raiders. So it is what it is. How he would fit into 2016 beyond his physical traits it's going to be, I think there's going to be a competition here. Again, I think they may re-sign Minshew. Probably going to have Oladokin back in there fighting. But we didn't really see what Minshew give you. We kind of see what Oladokin give us. He could get out, create, but Oladokin's just not a starter in this league. We struggled to score points. We struggled to move the ball. It's just not there. I don't know if Minshew would have been any better. We didn't really get to see it, but I'm not for sure there. And honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't think Jake Haener is going to be that much better either. But he does give you another option. But we know that Mahomes is coming from, recovering from that knee injury. They have to have something here in place. You're going to have to get a lot of looks at some guys in case Mahomes can't go. I fully think Mahomes will be back by week 1. It's not going to be a big deal, but I think you need players like this that could come in and maybe work with the offense in the time off that Mahomes can't. And you kind of got a guy that can move around the pocket, mess with his arm angles. If anything, maybe he's like a little scout version of Mahomes you could have running in practice. And I know Oladokin could pull that off too, but maybe it's something that maybe your own receivers and things that we get in can work with him a little bit, and it's not so far-fetched from what maybe Mahomes will give you, just at a much, much higher level. But yeah, again, I think he lacks that elite arm zip and things like that. He's not as big as Mahomes. He's a smaller dude. So, we've seen Andy succeed with pocket guys that just don't really get out of the pocket, like Chad Henne and Matt Moore. They were still and kind of predictable, but they didn't turn the ball over. They didn't do nothing crazy, but Andy can win with them. And so I believe that this is just a different aspect of the backup QB. We'll see. And again, I don't think he's as good as Mahomes when he gets out of the pocket. I think Mahomes is very underrated when he gets out of the pocket, but he does have quick feet. So we'll see. Maybe there's something there. They're wanting to test out some parts of a running game, or just who knows what they really want to do. But I think that's Jake Haener in a nutshell. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about Jake Haener here, and I'll get to some of these comments. Doug, been a member for 29 months. He said, ACU, you guys are the greatest channel for Chiefs news, draft, free agency. Thanks for all you do. Keep up the grind. Appreciate you, Doug. We work pretty hard. As I can say, Steve's got another job while he's at work, while he's traveling, while he's doing everything. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's working remotely right now. He's traveling a little bit. I'm on here just doing stuff when I can. So we'll get to it, and we're trying to pop out as much content as we can and keep you guys up to date. And again, Jake Haener, I thought this was enough of a weird signing that I thought you guys might be curious about it. And if I can dig up the notes in a minute, I'd like to go back and see what I said about Jake Haener when he come out in the draft in 2023. I think it was 2023, 2024, somewhere in that range. So I may go in and see if I can dig up some notes there, because I'm curious what I said about Jake Haener. But I appreciate you, Doug. And then, of course, we got Well-Turned Gamers, baby, with a 2-bomb. He said he sounds like Bo Nix. Also, you need a Sudafed. You know, I've been battling some kind of sickness since November, and I've taken a bunch of Sudafeds. I even took the good stuff you buy behind the counter. Nothing's touching this. So I don't know what kind of sicknesses that they are releasing, the powers of be, they're releasing on the communities these days. But these things are just going. And it doesn't help that we get a snowstorm one week and ice, and then the week before it was 60 degrees. And then, like, here we go, we're going to go back up in temperature next week or the week after that. So it just keeps flip-flopping. I wish summer would just summer and winter would just winter, and we could get over that. But appreciate you looking out for my well-being. He sounds like Bo Nix. He almost does have a little Bo Nix to him, in my opinion. I think that's why a lot of people liked Bo Nix for Sean Payton, is because they've seen a lot of Drew Brees there and thought that he could do a lot of the same things he could do with Drew Brees in New Orleans. And so we've seen that work out with Sean Payton. Now, I will say Bo Nix, I think, ultimately probably has a little bit of a better, I'm not going to say he's got a better arm. I'm going to say he throws a better ball than Jake Haener. He throws a more catchable ball. He's got a little bit more touch on his throws. So I'll say that. Bo Nix has also proven he can win in this league, with a caveat that he does have an awesome defense. Like, we know that. So let's not throw that out. Bo Nix can win in this league, but he's had a hell of a defense the whole way. He's never had a mid-tier defense or a bottom-tier defense and won anything. He's always had a top 5, top 10 defense. So, you know, it is that. There's shades of other things. I think, I'm not going to say this is wild, but there's sometimes I would watch Haener, and I went back and watched maybe a game or two of him just over the past, like, hour since this news dropped. And it was a quick watch. It wasn't like an in-depth study, but sometimes in the pocket, I would see certain arm angles and things kind of remind me of Drake May a little bit. He's not Drake May. Don't take that the wrong way. He's not Bo Nix. This kid is a backup quarterback in this league. Now, under Andy Reid, if he could stay here for 4 or 5 years, develop, stay with Mahomes throughout, maybe in 4 or 5 years he could hit the market and get a starting job at some point. But as of right now, that's not going to do it. So I just don't think that's it for Jake Haener. He is what he is. He's going to be a backup, and I don't even know if he'll make this team. Let's not be too quick to jump the gun there either. We don't know if he even makes this team specifically. So we've got all that going for us. Let's get to the chat a little bit more. If you guys got any, if you guys want to throw out any kind of, super chats or anything, I'll get to those for sure. Otherwise, I'm going to try to go through here and just look through this. Let me see. Jay says Nico Remigio's former QB. He has a nice arm strength, but that accuracy is suspect. Yeah, I think he does have nice arm strength within the intermediate. I don't love the deep ball, but I mean, I could be wrong. I don't love it. The accuracy's not really there. You're right on. He's not very accurate. A pass your intermediate range, but yeah, he did play with Nico Remigio, which is kind of cool. Is Nico even under contract right now? I don't even think Nico's under contract with us, so we'll see how that works out too. Randy says he's here in St. Joe and it's nice and warm today. I'm not buying that, Randy. What's nice and warm for St. Joe this time of year? Like 35, 40? Like what's up with that one? But yeah, let me see. Well, I've got a few minutes and you guys are here. Appreciate you guys coming in with me. I know it's early, it's random, but there's over 250, 300 of you guys through all platforms. Appreciate you guys being here. Hit the like button wherever you are. If you haven't subbed yet, hit the sub button. That would be awesome. Appreciate that. We're trying to get to 60K. We're almost there. We're like 53. Pretty cool. I want to see if I can bring up my notes and see if I can find my notes on Jake Haener. Maybe not going to be able to find it. It's a little far back in the day. Janae says, where's Steve? Steve is at work, and he's also traveling. So he's traveling. He's doing travel. He's doing remote work. He's doing all kinds of stuff right now. This is why he's been, shoddy hotel Wi-Fi, this and that. It is what it is. And during the summer, I'll travel a lot too. You guys have noticed that. If you've been with our channel for anything, I'll be in Florida for months at a time, weeks at a time. I'll be in KC. Sometimes I'll come over to KC. I travel a lot. Steve is just getting hit with he has to go do some work stuff. He's got some travel stuff that he's doing right now. I was supposed to go to the Senior Bowl last week. I was supposed to be down in Mobile doing some Senior Bowl scouting and things like that. Got invited down and everything. Couldn't make it work. Had a doctor's appointment that just so happened I was waiting 3 months on, fell right on the week. Then that snowstorm come through all the way through the south. So if I'd have went down there, I'd have got hit in a snowstorm on the way down. So it's like something was preventing me from not going down there. But one of these days I'll get down to the Senior Bowl. We'll see what that is. Any word on a running back coach? We haven't heard anything as of now. McCullough, they requested to talk to him. There's not been any more news as of right now to say that McCullough is. I would think McCullough is a front runner if he'll take the job. They could look at somebody else. We've not heard about them talking to anybody else as of now. We haven't heard about the McCullough thing either, so I don't even know. What did I miss, says just a little gizmo. Just the fact that the Chiefs signed Jake Haener, we were giving you a little rundown. Go back, rewatch that front part. It's worth the watch. I think it is what it is, man. But I appreciate all you guys being here. Let me see if I can bring up this. And again, I don't know if I can. I keep all these on Google Sheets. So I have to go back and look. So where I'm looking at right now does not have a Google Sheet back from 2023. So let me go to my other account here. I want to see if I can bring it up. If I can bring it up, I'll bring it up for you guys. I'll show you. I'll just show you I wasn't even lying here. So I've got my 2026 draft board. That's cool. I'm working on that right now. You guys already know that. I've got my 2025 draft rankings, my 2024. Wait, I see a 2023. Let's see if that 2023 has this in here. Let me see if that was the class, the 2023 class. Was that him? Jake Haener, that was him. Let's go. Okay, let me bring this up for you, and I'll just bring it up and we'll read it. This is what we had going. Yeah, we had certain things here for this. Let me see. I don't know how to do this. This is a different kind of thing. I'll just bring it up. These were my QB rankings, but they haven't been updated. I mean, they wasn't really updated. If you go to my big board, it would have proper QB ratings. Let me go back. I don't know if that's right or not. That is 2023, but I thought I had another one where I actually did some more stuff. There it is. Found it. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I have found the actual rankings here. So let me see if I can bring that up, and we will get a move on this bad boy. Jeez, I was kind of rough on him, I think. I'm sorry, brother. I was kind of rough on the feller, but we'll see. We'll see. God, poor guy. Okay. Here we go. Here was let me just bring this into here. You guys can just look at it with me. Appreciate y'all guys being here, by the way, and sticking with me. This is kind of an impromptu live. Just want to get on here and talk about Jake Haener. And now we're just doing something crazy. I'm just going to bring up my draft board here from 2023. Let me know if you guys can see this. Yeah, there you go. So here is my draft rankings. My draft rankings for 2023. These are my QB rankings. This is everything I have on my boards. These are my projections. These are everything. So it might be hard for you to see. Let me do this. Can I do this? Yeah, that'll make it a little bigger. There you go, guys. Okay, so we had C.J. Stroud as our number 1 QB that year. Bryce Young was number 2. Anthony Richardson at number 3, and boy, did he burn us. 2023 was a burn with the class, with the QB class. I kept saying that Will Levis, I watched him at UK. We're UK fans. he just could not win in big moments. He had such good intangibles, but he just couldn't do it. So I was a little worried about giving Will Levis. I didn't even like him at number 4, to be honest, but I knew he was going to be drafted, and I said he was probably going to be a top 10 pick. You can see it right here on the projection. So these are my projections. I don't know how that hit or whatever. If you want to go back and, burn on me for missing some of these projections, go for it. But I had Tanner McKee out of Stanford as a top 75 player. I had Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee as a top 75 player, and I think he was going through some injuries. That's why we had the red flag evaluation. Let me see. This is all of the background, the pros and the cons that I wrote up on Hooker. Yeah, he's one of the oldest prospects in the class, will likely miss his rookie season recovery from an ACL. So that's why I'd give Hendon Hooker the red flag. Clayton Tune out of Houston, he's more of a system guy, but a 5th rounder. And I put Jake Haener in a fifth round kind of thing. So that's what I said. He was a little older when he come out. Of course, he had the 24. His arm length was a little low, that he had the red flag there. He had a pretty good vertical jump and a pretty good broad jump, which led me to believe that he was going to be decently athletic. I had all of his stats. Nothing really stood out. Nothing really in the green. Bright green's good. Red's kind of a concern. So nothing really stood out. He was basically average across the board. He was 6'2", 207. I had him flagged for being a little too small. Obviously, you can see that's been one of his problems. So let's go through and read what I had wrote about him and what I'd scouted on this kid. And let's talk about Jake Haener. So I wrote background. Let me see if I can adjust this to where it'll be in the middle of the screen. Good night. They make these things so difficult to work with. Okay, here we go. Background. Here we are. So this is what I wrote. Jake Haener, and I'm going to highlight what I wrote. Background. Jake Haener was a 3-star recruit for the 2018 class. He transferred from Washington in 2019, set out 2019 season because of transfer rules. He was the starter in 2020, but played a shortened season due to COVID. He returned as the starter in 2021 and played through an ankle injury during the season. That's what I was referring to back when I said he was tough. He also played through a hip injury versus UCLA, got a win there. Haener tried to transfer back to Washington to follow former Fresno State coach Kalen DeBoer. I think Kalen DeBoer actually went into. Was he the guy that ended up getting hired by Alabama? I don't know. But he decided to remain with the Bulldogs. In 2022, Haener would suffer an ankle injury in week 3, but would return 5 weeks later to lead the Bulldogs to the Mountain West Championship and win the LA Bowl. Pros on Jake Haener. Haener throws with great timing and anticipation. He did show pinpoint accuracy underneath and on intermediate routes. So there we go. I remembered that one too, and I'm pretty sure specifically he was not very good deep ball. He can make a variety of throws, whether it's with touch or zip in the intermediate field. He shows plus mobility and the ability to work outside of the pocket, outside of the structure. He showed toughness playing through ankle injuries that he sustained in week 5 versus Hawaii. Cons. Here we go. Here's the cons. Let's see if these add up. Haener lacks ideal size and arm strength. While he does throw with timing and anticipation, he has some bad misses on some easy throws. Exactly what Jay was saying right there about the actually being suspect. This showed up multiple times when in the red zone. That's not good either. You don't want that to show up in the red zone. You want to be on your game in the red zone. You don't want to be crazy. He had to play a lot of hero ball in the 2021 season, and it led to some errant decisions. His pocket presence could be better. He feels phantom pressure and will drop his eyes and look for an escape route. He was very quick to do that. With the Chiefs, you might not need that. Now, we'll say we got a lot better. We got a lot better here recently with the offensive line, but other than that, you didn't need them to see ghost all the time. So I think that's pretty much the thing with Jake Haener, going back and looking at it. So I did have him projected as my 8th best quarterback in that draft. He was right above Aiden O'Connell, which is kind of funny. And actually, I guess I missed on that. I guess I'd say Aiden O'Connell was probably a little bit better. But after him, not a lot. We had Todd Cintio, Tim Durant, Tyson Bagent, Max Dugan, Stetson Bennett. I mean, what a horrible class for QBs right there. And to be honest, the class above them is not that good. With CJ Stroud's your number 1, and he's kind of looked kind of sus over the past few years. Bryce Young's okay. He's not looked game-changing or anything. Anthony Richardson's been a bust to this point. Will Levis has been a bust to this point. Tanner McKee, Hendon Hooker, Clayton Tune, those guys. What a horrible 2023 draft class for quarterbacks, in my opinion. Just horrible. Here for fun, since we're just talking about this, let's bring up the Let's bring up the big board and see what we had. Let's see what I had him ranked on the big board. Here was my big board for that class. Will Anderson, number 1. Bijan, number 2. C.J. Stroud, 3. Jackson Smith and Jigma was my number 1 wide receiver. I think I nailed that one. If Mike's anything, he's a wide receiver whisperer. I'll tell you that. Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon at 5 and 6. Peter Skoronski. At the time, I remember going back and looking at 2023 class, we didn't know if Skoronski was going to slide into guard or be a tackle. And I'm not sure what he's played in the NFL to this point. But I don't think he's been bad. Bryce Young was my number 8. Jalen Carter was number 9. Paris Johnson was number 10. Zay Flowers was my wide receiver 2 at the end of the day. I did have some size advantage or some size disadvantage there. Excuse me. But I think Jackson Smith and Jigma, Zay Flowers, not a bad 1-2 there. Quentin Johnson was finished number 3. For the longest time, everybody had Quentin Johnson as number 1. I had him number 1 till late in the process. I think about the time Patrick Mahomes brought Zay Flowers down to Texas to throw with him was about the time I started moving Flowers above Johnston. And actually Johnston did, I think, throw with Mahomes down there too, but there was something about Flowers just looked different. Tyree Wilson, boy, that turned out to be a bad pick. I know people that had him in like a top 10, top 5 grade. I couldn't get there. I had him at a 13. Jahmyr Gibbs should have been rated higher than Tyree Wilson. That's my mistake. But I liked Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think I had him as RB2, and he was behind Bijan. So then Anton Harrison, which I thought the Chiefs, I thought that could be a guy they were looking to trade up with, if you remember those rumors that year about us trading up for a defensive tackle. Brian Branch, Sam Laporte I had at 17. Anthony Richardson was 18. Porter, Jack Campbell, and those were all my first round. That was everybody I said was a first-round talent. And obviously, I got burned, as we all did, on some of these QB prospects. So I think if you take out the QBs, you take out Tyree Wilson, who stinks, bro, and maybe Quentin Johnson, who's kind of not had a very good career either. If you take all them out, I think everybody else kind of fills into that first-round talent. I had Tank Dell as my number 4 wide receiver, a top 50. At one point, yeah, and see, this hasn't been updated. At one point, I had Will Levis as a top 10 pick. Didn't get updated. Or maybe that was where I ranked him, and I said he's probably going to be a top 10 projection. I think that's what that meant. I do this system now differently. So for 2026, I don't project like this anymore. So I'm kind of projecting. I think this is how I rank them, and this is where I project they'll get drafted overall. Miles Murphy, Lucas Van Ness, blah, blah, blah. That was my top 25. So it is what it is. I mean, I was right. I think Will Levis actually fell. He ended up going to the second round, so he was being looked at as a top 10, but I think he did end up falling to the second round, if I remember correctly. So I was actually more correct than I thought everybody would be, because at 23, that was closer to a round 2 pick. I really thought people were going to take him as a top 10, which would have been horrible. I guess that don't feel so bad now, but yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys tuning in with me, talking a little bit about Jake Haener, how this is going to go forward, what his pros and cons were. I recommend anybody, if you've got NFL app and you can go back and watch some film, go back and watch some stuff. If you can't do that, maybe go to YouTube, watch some highlights after this. Just click over to some highlights and watch some of his stuff. See if you think he'll be effective in the Andy Reid offense. I've told you what I thought. I think that he could become a serviceable backup, but I also think that this futures deal is nothing more than just a futures deal and a look at him. I don't think that he's guaranteed a roster spot by any means. And I think the Chiefs will continue to maybe sign back even Minshew to a year if you can get them or something like that. They're going to have some competition there. I don't think they're going to just upright give them the job. But yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys think. Do you think that Andy Reid could coach this kid up and be a serviceable backup for the next few years? Or do you think he's just an experiment and they'll get out of it before it's over? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. I respect what you guys say. Like, I give you my thoughts, you give me yours, baby. So I appreciate you guys being here. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Go back, watch some of our stuff from yesterday if you haven't. We talked a little bit about the possibility of people saying that we're moving off of Pacheco and that we probably will make a play at Breece Hall. That's kind of an interesting thing. If you guys like draft content as well, there's a lot of times I can get on here and talk with you like this. I don't need Steve. Steve works. He travels some for work right now, so he's not having a lot of time. I can get on here and do some lives. We can come up with draft boards. I don't care to let you guys into my draft space like I just did. You can look what I'm doing. Maybe we can come up with a ACU big board for the Chiefs. We can do mock drafts. We can do things like that. Be very interactive. That's something you guys want to do. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, appreciate you guys being here. Love it. Let me know what you think about Jake Haener. I know it was shocking today. I didn't expect to get Jake Haener quarterback news on February the 2nd, which was kind of odd. But here we are. So I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to do all that beautiful stuff. I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to catch you next time. Be sure to hit up DraftKings as well. Let them know All Chiefed Up sent you. And by the way, let's shout out Zarda. If you guys are good, if you guys can get out to a Zarda, go have some dinner at Zarda. Tell them All Chiefed Up sent you their way. Big sponsors of the show, big fans of the show. We love Zarda. We love you guys. I appreciate you guys being here. Until next time, go Chiefs.
Wow.